having impressed on her heart the beautiful image of the ShrRama as he appeared while running in pursuit of the false deer. Sita incessantly repeated Sri Hari's name. When the Lord of Raghu saw his younger brother coming, he outwardly expressed much concern. As you have left Janka's daughter alone and come here against my instructions. Hosts of the demons are roaming about in the forest. I therefore suspect Sita is not at the hermitage. Lakshmana clasped Sri Rama's lotus feet and replied with joined palms, Lord, it is no fault of mine. Accompanied by his younger brother, the Lord went back to his hermitage on the bank of the Godavari. When he saw the hermitage bereft of the Janka's daughter, he felt as perturbed and afflicted as any common man. As Sita, Janka's daughter, the very mine of virtue, of such flawless beauty, character, austerity, and devotion, Lakshmana consolidated him in many ways. He cautions all the creepers and trees that stood on the way as he went along in search of her. O birds and deers, O string of bees, have you seen the fond eye Sita, the wagtail, the parrot, the pigeon, the deer, the fish, the swarm of bees, the clever cuckoo, the jasmine birds, the pomegranate, the lightning, the lotus, the autumnal moon, the gliding serpent, the noose of Varuna, the god of water, the bow of Cupid, the swan, the elephant, and the lion now hear themselves praised. The bilva fruits and the gold banana rejoice and do not feel the least misgiving of bashfulness. Listen, Janka's daughter, in your absence today they are all glad, as if they have got a kingdom. How can you bear such rivalry? Why do you not reveal yourself quickly, my darling? In this way, the Lord searched and lamented like uxorious husband, sore smitten with pain of the separation. Sri Rama, who is bliss personified and has all his wishes accomplished, and who is both unborn and immortal, behaved like a mortal. Further on, they saw the king of the vulture lying with his thought fixed on Sri Rama's feet, which bear characteristic mark on their souls. The hero of Raghula in the ocean of mercy caresses Jatayu's head with his lotus hands. As the bird gazed on the Sri Rama's countenance, the home of loveliness, all his pain disappeared. All his pain disappeared. The scriptures mentions 48 marks on the sole of the Lord's feet, 24 on each. Those who the left are a vertical line, a swastika, and ashokona. Goddess Lakshmi represented by a golden coil describing 2.5 concentric circles, a plug, a pestle, a figure of the Shesha, an arrow, the sky by Chimper, a lotus, a carrot, a thunderbolt, a grain of battery, the wish yielding tree of the heaven, a gourd, a flag, a crown, a discus, a throng, a star, the staff of Yama, the god of death, a chauris, an umbrella, a human figure, and a wreath of victory placed by the bride round the neck of the suitor of her choice, while those born on the right soul, the plum, the crescent, a conch shell, a षटकोना, a figure consists of a pair of triangles intersecting each other. A triangle, a mass, a jiva of the individual soul represented by the point illustrating its atomic size, Vindhu, a point, and the Shakti represented by a semicircle and forming the base of the Vindhu, a reservoir of nectar, three horizontal lines like the fold of the belly, a fish, the full moon, a lute, a flute, a bow, a quail, a swan, and an ornament of the head of the lady. It should be remembered here that Sita also bears the same mark in her source, with this difference that the mark on Sri Rama's right soul are borne by Sita on her left and vice versa. The hero of Ragula in the ocean of mercy caresses Jatayu's head with his lotus hands as the caresses, and as the bird gazed on Sri Rama's countenance, the home of the loveliness, all his pain disappeared. The vulture now recovered himself and spoke as follows: Listen, Rama, the allayer of the fear of the transmigration. It was a ten-headed Ravana. 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 It was the ten-headed Ravana. It was a ten-headed Ravana, my lord, who reduced me to this plight. It was the same wretch who carried off Janka's daughter. He took her away, holy sir, in the south, while she kept screaming loudly as an osprey. I have survived, my lord, only to behold you. My life now is about to depart. O fountain of mercy, said Sri Rama, live yet more, dear one. He, however, replied with a smile of his countenance, He whose very name, so declare the Vedas, redeems the most depraved soul, even if it appears on his lips at the moment of his death, is present before me in a visible form. What more is wanting more, for which I should retain my body any longer? With his eyes full of tears, the Lord of Raghu replied, Dear father, you have attained to an invincible state by virtue of your own noble deed. And nothing is difficult of attainment in the world to those who have others' interest at heart. Casting off your body, dear father, proceed now to my divine abode. What shall I give you when you have all your desires already accomplished? But on reaching there, sire, tell now not my father about Sita's abductions. If I am not other than Rama, if I am what I am, the ten-headed Ravana and his whole house will go and say everything to him. The vulture now dropped his body and assumed Sri Hari's own form, bedecked with many jewels, and clad in a yellow attire of matchless splendor, and possessed of a dark hue and four long arms. And with his eyes full of tears, he burst into praises of his Lord. Glory to the Sri Rama of incomparable beauty, who is absolute as well as qualified, and the true impeller of gunas, Maya too. His fierce arrows are potent enough to cut off the terrible arm of the ten-headed Ravana. I incessantly adore the all-merciful Sri Rama, the ornament of the earth, who is endowed with a form dark as a rain cloud, a face resembling the blue lotuses and large eyes resembling the red lotuses. Possessor of a long arm, he rid his devotee of fear of transmigration. His strength is immeasurable. He is without beginning. And unborn, the one without a second, unmean-feasted and imperceptible, beyond the reach of the senses, though attainable with the help of the Vedic hymns, the dispeller of the pair of the opposites such as joy and sorrow, birth and death, pleasure and pain, etc., consciousness personified, the support of the earth, the delighter of the soul of countless saints and devotee, who repeats the sacred name of the Rama. I ever extol Sri Rama, who loves and is loved by those who are free from desire, and curbs the host of the vicious prosperities such as lust and so on. the support of the earth, the delighter of the soul of a countless saints and devotees who repeat the sacred name of the Rama. I ever extol Sri Rama, who loves and loved by those who are free from desire and curbs the host of the vicious prosperities such as lust and so on. He whose the Vedas glorify under the name of the Brahma, pure, free from the tent of Maya, all pervading, passionless and unborn, whom the Sikhs attend to through manifold practices such as meditation, discretion, dispassion, and yoga. That fountain of mercy has become manifest as the very incarnation of beauty and enraptured the whole animate and inanimate creation. He is the bee that resides in the lotus of my heart, and through every limb of his shines the splendor of many a god of love. He who is at once inaccessible and easily accessible, who has glueless disposition and is both partial and impartial and ever placid, whom the yogi perceive with great efforts, subduing their senses and mind, that Rama, the abode of the Rama, goddess Lakshmi, and the lord of the three spheres, the entire creation, is ever at the back and call of his devotee. May he abide in my heart, whose holy praises put a stop to transmigration. Asking the boon of the uninterrupted devotion, the asking the boon of the uninterrupted after the boon of the uninterrupted devotion, the vulture Jatayu ascends to the Shri Hari's abode. Shri Rama performed his furnal rite which with due ceremony and with his own hands. The Lord of who is the most tender-hearted and compassionate to the humble, and shows his mercy even where there is no occasion for it. On a vulture who is most unclean and carnivorous bird, he conferred a state which is solicited even by the yogis. Listen, Uma, those people are unfortunate indeed who abandon Sri Hari and become abandon Sri Hari and become attached to the object of the sense. The two brothers proceeded further to quest of the Sita and marked the thickening of the forest even as they went. The thicket was full of creepers and trees and inhabited by many birds and deers, elephants and lions. Sri Rama overthrew the demon Kabandha even as the latter met him on the way. He told him the whole story about the curse pronounced on him. The Sikh Durvasa had impressed me. The sin has now been wiped out by the sight of the Lord's feet. Listen, O Gandharva, to what I tell you. I cannot tolerate an enemy of the Brahmans. He who without glue in thoughts, words and deeds does service to the Brahmans, the very God on the earth, wins over Brahma, Shiva, myself and all other divinities. A Brahmana, even though he curse you, beat you or speak harsh words to you, is still worthy of adoration. So declare the saints. A Brahmana must be respected though lacking in amiability and the virtue, not so a Sudra, though possessing a host of virtues and rich in knowledge. The Lord instructed Kabandha in his own cult, the cult of devotion, and was delighted at heart to see his devotion to his feet. Having regained his original form, that of Gandharva, he bowed his head to the lotus feet of Sri Rama, the Lord of Raghus, and ascends to the heaven. Having conferred on him his own Gandharva state, the beneficent Rama repaired to the hermitage of the Shabri. When Shabri saw that Sri Rama had called at her abode, she recalls the words of the Sikhs Matanga and was glad of heart. With lotus-like eyes, long arms, and tuft of matted hair, adoring his head-like crown, and garland of the wild flowers hanging upon their breast, the two brothers looked most charming, the one dark of hue and the other fair. Shabri felt protest and embraced their feet. She was so overwhelmed with love that no words came to her lips. Again and again she bowed her head at their lotus feet. Presently she took some water and reverently leaved their feet, and then conducted them to a seat of honor. She bought and offered to Sri Rama the most delicious bulbs, roots and fruits. The Lord partook of these appreciating again and again. Joining her palm, she stood before him as she gazed upon the Lord. Her love waxed yet more ardent. How can I extol you? Lowest is descents, and the least of it as I am. A woman is lowest of those who rank as a lowest of the low. Of women, again I am the most dull headed. O destroyer of the sin, answered the Lord of the Raghu. Listen, O good lady, to my words. I recognize no other kinship except that of devotion. Despite caste, kinship, lineage, dharma, reputations, wealth, physical strength, numerical strength of his family, accomplishment and ability, a man lacking in devotion is no more worth than a cloud without water. Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama. Joining her palm, she stood before him as she gazed upon the Lord. Her love waxed yet more ardent. How can I extol you? Lowest is descents, and the dullest of wit as I am. A woman is the lowest of those who rank as the lowest of low. Of women, again I am the most dull-headed, O destroyer of the sins. Answers the Lord of the Raghu. Listen, O good lady, to my words. I recognize no other kinship except that of devotion. Despite caste, kinship, lineage, dharma, reputation, wealth, physical strength, numerical strength of his family, accomplishments and ability, a man lacking of devotion is no more worth than the cloud without water. Now I tell you the ninth form of the devotion. Please listen attentively and cherish them in your mind. The first in order to company with the saints, and the second is marked by fondness of my stories. Humble service of the lotus feet of one preceptor is the third form of the devotion, while the fourth type of devotion consists in singing my praises with a glueless heart. Muttering my names with unwavering faith constitutes the fifth form of the devotion revealed in the Vedas. The sixth variety consisting in practicing of self-control and virtue, desisting from manifold activities and even pursuing the course of the conduct prescribed for saints. He also practices the seven type of sense, the world of me, without distinction, and reckon the saints as even greater than myself. He who cultivates the eighth type of devotion remains contented with whatever he gets and never thinks of detecting others' faults. The ninth form of devotion demands that one should be glueless and straight in one's dealing with everybody, and should in his heart cherish implicit faith in my without either exclusions or depressions. Whoever possesses any one of these nine forms of devotion, be he man or woman or any other creature, sentient or insentient, is most dear to me, O good lady. As for yourself, you are blessed with unflinching devotion of all these types. The prizes which is hardly won by the yogis in within your easy reach today. The most incomparable fruit of seeing me is that the soul attained the natural state. If you know anything about Janka's daughter, my good lady, tell me her news, O fair dame. Go to the Pampa lake, O Lord of the Raghus. There you will make friends with Sugriva. He will tell you everything, my Lord Rama, hero of the Raghu line. You are of the steady resolves and know everything. Nevertheless, you ask me, bowing her head at the Lord's feet again and again, she lovingly revealed the whole story of what the sage Matanga had told her, and how eagerly she had watched his approach all the time. After telling the whole story, she gazed on the Lord's countenance and imprinted the image of his lotus feet on her heart, and casting her body in the fire of yoga, she entered Srihari's state, where whom there is no returns. O man, abundant your varied activities, sins and diverse creeds, which all give word to the sorrows, and which genuine faith says Tulsidas, he devoted to the feet of Sri Rama. The Lord conferred final beatitude even on the woman who was not only an outcast but a very mine of the sin. You seek happiness, my most foolish mind, by forgetting such a master. Rama left even that forest and proceeded further. The two brothers were loin among men and possessed immeasurable strength. The Lord lamented like one smitten with pains of the separation. He narrated stories and had many a dialogue with Lakshmana. Lakshmana marked the beauty of the forest, whose heart will not be stirred at its sight. United with their mates, all the swarm of birds and herds of the deers are approaching me as it were. When the bucks see me and scampered away in fear, their mates would stop them, saying, "You have nothing to fear. You may enjoy yourself at will." O progeny of the deer, he has come in search of the gold deer. The elephant would take their mates along with them, as if to teach me a lesson that a man should never leave his wife alone. The sucker's lore, however thoroughly studied, must be gone through over and over again. A king, however well served, should never be depended upon, and woman, scriptures, and king, even though you may cherish her in your bosom, is never thoroughly master. See, brother, how pleasant the spring is, yet to me, bereft of my beloved, it is frightful. When the god of love found me tortured by separation, languishing and all alone, he rushed against me with the verdant forest, bees and the birds for his army. His spy, the wind, however, has seen me with my brothers, and on his report, the mind-born Cupid has held up his advancing army, and beside me, as it were, creepers have entwined themselves round gigantic trees, spreading as it were a variety of canopies in the sky. The platans and the stately palms are standing like beautiful pianos and standards. He alone, who is stout of heart, could help being fascinated by their sights. Trees of the every description are adorned with flowers of the various kinds, like warriors arrayed in all their different kinds of panoply. Other beautiful trees standing here and there, looking charming like champions, separately encamped. The murmuring cuckoos and his excited elephants, herons and the rocks, his camels and mules, peacocks, chakoras and parrots, his noble war horses, the pigeons and swan, the herb steed, the partridge and the quails, his foot soldiers, but there is no describing the whole host of the Cupid. Mountain rocks are his carrots, the rills his cattle drums, the chatkas, the bards, and utter his praises. The gradulous bees are his trumpet and clarinets, and the soft, cool, and the fragrant breeze have come in the capacity of its ambassador, accompanied by the array complete in all its four limbs, the horse, the foot, the carrots, and the elephants. He goes about challenging all to a combat. Lakshmana, who remains firm even as the sight of the Cupid battle array are men that count in this world. His greatest strength lies in woman. He alone who can escape her is a mighty champion. Brother, there are three evils most formidable of all: lust, anger, and greed. In an instant, they distract the mind of the hermits, who are the very repository of the wisdom. The weapons of the greeds are desire and hypocrisy, of lust not by the woman, while anger's weapon is harsh speech, so declare the great sages after deep thought. Sri Rama, dear Umma, says Bhagwan Shiva is beyond the three gunas, Sattva, Rasa, and Tamsa, through the Lord of the animate and inanimate creations and the inner controller of all. By speaking as above, he demonstrated the miserable plight of the earthly lovers and strengthened this passion in the mind of the wise. Anger, lust, greed, pride, and delusions, all these get eliminated through Sri Rama's grace. He who wins the favor of the divine prayer is never deluded by his jugglery. Whom I tell you my own realization, the only thing real in worship of Sri Rama and the whole world is a dream. The Lord then repaired to the shore of the deep and beautiful lake known by the name of Pampa. Its water was limpid as the heart of the sands, and it had charming flights of steps on its four sides. Beasts of the various kinds drank of its water wherever they listed, as if there was a crowd of the beggars ever present at the house of the generous man. coveted by the dense lotus leaves of the water, could not be easily discussed, even as attributed Brahma is not perceived when wheeled by the Maya ignorance. All the fishes that had their abode in the fathomless water of the lake were uniformly happy, even as the virtuous ever passed their days peacefully. Lotuses of the different colors had opened their petals, and swarm of bees sweetly hummed. Swarm and the waterfalls made such a noise as though they had burst into the Lord's praises the moment they saw him. Birds like the chakravaka and the herons were lovely beyond words. One could form an idea of their beauty only after seeing them. The voice of the beautiful birds was so captivating that it seems they invited the wayfarer who passed by them. By the sides of the lake, hermits had erected their trench cottage. There were charming forest trees all around, the champaka, the bakula and kadamba, the tamla, the patala, the panasa, the palasha, the mango, and many other varieties of trees had put forth new leaves, and the blossoms and swarm of the bees hums on them. A delightful breeze, which was naturally cool, gentle, and fragrant, ever breathes there. The cuckoos cooed so sweetly that their melody disturbed the hermites in their meditation. Weighing down with the Lord of their fruits, all the fruit trees will nay touch the ground, even as a benevolent soul grow all more humble on getting a large fortune. When the Sri Rama saw this most beautiful lake, he took a dip into it and felt supremely delighted. Seeing the pleasant shade of the stately tree, the Lord of Raghu sat in it with his younger brother. There all the gods and sheikhs came once more, and having hymned his praises, returned to their several homes. The All Merciful sat in a most cheerful mood and discussed with his younger brother on delightful topic. When the sage Narada saw the Lord suffering the pains of the separation, he felt much perturbed at heart. It is the submission of my curse that the Lord is undergoing many hardships of an oppressive nature. Let me therefore go and see such a noble Lord, for such an opportunity may not present itself again. Reflecting thus, Narada went, lute in hands, to the spots where the Lord was sitting at ease. He fondly sung in a soft voice the exploit of Sri Rama's, dwelling upon them in all detail. As he protested themselves, the Lord lifted him up and held him in the embrace for a long time. After inquiring of his welfare, he seated him by his sides. With Lakshmana reverently laved his feet. After much supplication and realizing that the Lord was pleased at heart, Narada joined his lotus palm and spoke as follows. Listen, O Lord of the Raghu, generous by nature as you are, you confer delightful boon that are attainable as well as those unattainable as well as those that are attainable. Grant me, my master, only one boon that I ask to you, even though you already know it, even without my asking, indwelling as you do the hearts of the all. You know my disposition, dear sake. Do I ever hide anything from my devotee? What object do I hold to dear? Hold so dear, O chief of the Sikhs, that you may not ask it of me. There is nothing which I may withhold from my votary. Never give up this belief even by mistakes. Then Narada gladly said, this is the boon I presume to ask, even though my Lord has many names, each greater than the others. As the Vedas declare, let the name Rama, my Lord, so suppress all other names in exterminating the whole broom of sins, even as the follower kills the entire flock of the birds. May the name Rama shine as the moon and the other names as so many stars in the cloudless sky of your devotee's heart during the full moon night of the devotion to you, the Lord, merciful Lord of the Raghu. Ramayana Mashi, Ramayana Rishi, Ramayana Mashi. Tell the all merciful Lord of the Raghu replied to the Sikh, so be it. Thereupon Narada felt much delighted at heart and bowed at the Lord's feet. Seeing the Lord Raghu so highly pleased, Narada spoke again in gentle tones. Listen, O Rama, when you impelled your Maya, deluding potency, and infatuated me, O Lord of Raghu, I wanted to marry. Why then did you not let me accomplish my desire? Listen, O sakes, I tell you with all the emphasis at my command, that I always take care of those who worship me with undivided faith, even as a mother guards her child. If an infant child run to catch hold to fire or a snake, the mother hold it aside. When, however, her son has grown up, she love him no doubt, but not as before. The wise are like my grown up sons, while humble devotees are like my infant children's. A devotee depended on me, while the former wise man depended on his own strength, and both have to face enemies like lust and anger. Pondering thus, the prudent adore me and never take leave of devotion even after attaining wisdom. Lust, anger, greed, pride, etc. constitutes the most powerful army of the ignorance, but among them all the fiery cast and the most troublesome is the incarnation of Maya, the Lord's deluding potency called woman. Maya, the Lord's deluding potency called woman. Listen, O Sikhs, the Puranas, the Vedas, and saints declare that the woman is like the vernal season to the forest of the ignorance. Nay, like the hot season, she dried up all the ponds and lakes of the Japa. The muttering of prayers, austerity, and religious observances against lust, anger, pride, and jealousy are so many frogs, as it were like the rainy season. Woman is the only agency that gladdens them all. Even so, latent desire of the vicious type are like a bed of lilies, to which, like the utmost, she is ever agreeable. All the different virtues are like a bed of lotuses, like the middle of the winter. Woman, who is the source of the base sensuous pleasures, blight them all. Again, the overgrowth of the Yavasa plant in the shape of the mindness flourish when the close of the winter in the shape of the woman appears. For all is the shape of the sins. Woman is a delightful night, thick with darkness. Even so, reason, strength, virtue, and truth are also many fishes, as it were. And women so declare the wise is like a hook to catch them. A young woman is a root of all evils, a source of torments, and mine of all woes. Therefore, bearing this in mind, O Sikhs, I have prevented your marriage. As the Sikh listened to the delightful words of ShrRam, the Lord of Raghu, a thrill ran through his body and his eye filled with tears. He said to himself, tell me, is there any other master who will not it to show such attachment and fondness for his servants? Men who refuse to worship such a Lord, shaking off all delusions, are bankrupt of wisdom, dull-witted and wretched. The Sikh Narada again reverently spoke to the Lord. Listen, O Sikh, who are well versed in Sakar's lore, tell me, my Lord, Raghuvira, hero of the Raghu line, the distinguishing mark of the saints, O dispeller of the fear of transmigration, I tell you, dear Sikhs, the quality of the saints, by virtue of which they hold me in subjections. They are master of the six passions: lust, anger, greed, infatuation, pride, and jealousy, sinless, disinterested, firm, possessing nothing, pure both with and without, full of bliss, of boundless wisdom, desireless, moderate of diet, truthfulness, inspired, learnt, and united with gods, circumspect, bestowing honor on others, free from pride, strong-minded, and highly conversant with the course of dharma. They are abode of the virtue, above the sorrow of the world, and free from doubt. Nothing besides my lotus feet is dear to them, not even their body, not their home. Even they blush to hear themselves praised, but feel much delighted to hear others' praises. Even minded and placid, they never abandon the right course. Glueless by nature and loving, they are given over to prayer, austerity, control of the senses, self denial, and religious observances, and undertake Sakar's work. They are devoted to feet of their Guru, Lord Govinda, Vishnu, and the Brahmas. They are all full of piety, forgiving, friendly to all, compassionate, cheerful under all circumstances, and sincerely devoted to my feet. They are further characterized by dispassion, discretion, modesty, knowledge of the to relating to God as well as by correct knowledge of the Vedas and Puranas. Never take recourse of hypocrisy, pride, or arrogance, nor set their foot on the evil path even by mistake. They are ever engaged in singing or hearing my stories and are intent on doing good to others without any consideration. In short, O good sakes, the quality of the saints are so numerous that they cannot be exhausted even by the Sharda, the goddess of speech, nor by the Vedas. Neither Sharda nor Shesha could tell them. Even as he heard this, the sage Narada clasped the Lord's lotus feet. In their way, the all merciful Lord, the befriender of the meek, recounted with his own lips the virtue of his devotees. Narada bowed his head at the Lord's feet again and left for abode of Brahma, the Creator. Blessed are the sages Tulsidas, whose giving up all hopes are steeped in love for Sri Hari. People who sing or hear the sanctifying praises of the Ravana souls shall be rewarded with steadfast devotion of the Sri Rama, even without dissipation, japa, or concentration of the mind. The body of the young woman is like the flame of a candle. Be not moth on it, O my mind, abandoning lust and pride. Worship Sri Rama and enjoy the company of the saints. Verse 24 for the 22 for the 30 days recitation. इति श्री रामचरितमानसे सकल कलिश लौशु विध्वंसी तृतीय सोपान समाप्ता. The end of the third ascents into the Mansa lake of the Sri Rama's exploit that indicates all the impurities of the Kali age. The Sri Rama's exploits. Mansa lake of the Sri Rama's exploit. It indicates all the impurities of the Kali age. Impurities of the Kali age. Shri Rama, 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 Shri Rama. Having impressed on her heart the beautiful image of Sri Rama, as he appeared while running in pursuit of the false deer, Sita incessantly repeated Sri Hari's name. When the Lord of Raghu saw his younger brother coming, he outwardly expressed much concern. Else, you have left Janka's daughter alone and come here against my instructions. Hosts of demons are roaming about in the forest. I therefore suspect Sita is not at all at the hermitage. Lakshmana clasped Sri Rama's lotus feet and replied with joint palm, Lord, it is no fault of mine. Accompanied by his younger brother, the Lord went back of his hermitage on the bank of the Godavari. When he saw the hermitage bereft of the Janka's daughter, he felt as perturbed as afflicted as any common man. Else Sita, Janka's daughter, the very mine of the virtue of such flawless beauty, character, austerity, and devotion. Lakshmana consolidated him in many ways. He cautions all the creepers and trees that stood on the way as he went along in search of her. A bird and deer, O string of bees, have you seen the fawn-eyed Sita, the wagtail, the parrot, the pigeon, the deer, the fish, the swarm of bees, the clever cuckoo, the jasmine birds, the pomegranate, the lightning, the lotuses, the autumnal moon, the gliding serpents, the noose of the Varuna, the god of water, the bow of the Cupid, the swan, the elephants, and the lion. Now hear themselves praise the bilva fruit and the gold banana. Rejoice and do not feel the least misgiving of bashfulness. Listen, Janka's daughter, in your absence today, they are all glad as if they have got a kingdom. How can you bear such rivalry? Why do you not reveal yourself quickly, my darling? In this way, the Lord searched and lamented like an uxorious husband, sore smitten with the pangs of the separation. He Rama, who is bliss personified and has all his wishes accomplished, now is both unborn and immortal, behave like mortal. Now further on, they saw the king of the vulture lying with the thought fixed on the Sri Rama's feet, which bear characteristic may mark on his soul. Sri Rama. In the scriptures mention 48 marks on the sole of the Lord's feet, 24 on each. Those who are left are a vertical lines, Urdhavarna, a swastika, and Ashtokona, a figure consisting of a pair of the square intersecting each other. Goddess Lakshmi, represented by a gold coil describing 2.5 concentric circles, a plug, a pastel, a figure of the Shesha, the serpent god, an arrow, the sky represented by the kefir, a lotus, a carrot, a thunderbolt, a grain of barley, the wish shielding a tree in the heaven, a god, a flag, a crown, the discus, Sudarshana, the Sudarshana, a thong, the staff of the Sudarshana, Sudarshana is discussed Sudarshana, throng, the staff of the Yama, the god of the death, a choris, an umbrella, a human figure, and a wreath of the victory placed bride round the neck of the suitor of her choice. Wreath of victory, while those born on the right soul are the river Saryu, a cow's hoof, the earth, a pitcher, a small flag, a jambu fruit, the black plum, the crescent, a conch shell, a sat kona, a figure consists of a pair of triangles intersecting each other, a triangle, a mass. Mass means what is the meaning of mass? A mass, a jiva or an individual soul represented by the point illustrating his atomic size. Individuals represent a point illustrating an atomic size. Vindu, a point, and a Shakti represented by the semicircle and forming the base of the Vindu, a reservoir of nectar, 3 horizontal lines like a fold of the belly, a fish, the full moon, a lute, a flute, a bow, a queer, a swan, and an ornament of the head, of the lady. It should be remembered here that Sri Sita also bears the same marks in her soles, with this difference that the mark of the ShrRama's right soles are borne by the Sita on her left and vice versa. ShrRama here well nigh exhausted a list of the birds and beasts as well as the inanimate object of which Indian poets usually liken to limb of the charming lady. Of these, the eyes are compared to the fish and the vectel, as well as the eyes of the fawn, the nose of the parrot beak, the neck of that of the pigeon, the curly hair of the swarm of the bees, the voice of the note of the cuckoo, the teeth is jasmine buds and seed of the pomegranate, the complexion of the lightning, the eyes and the face as well as hands and feet to the lotus, the face of Atmal moon, the buds of hair hanging on the back of the gliding serpent, the smile of the nose of the Varuna, the eyebrow to Cupid bow, the gait to that of the swan and the elephant, the waist to that the lion, the breast to the bilva fruit, and the thing to a gold banana. The idea here is that though model of the beauty so far a earthy women are concerned, none of these analogous stood comparison with Sita's limbs, and hence they dare not face the latter out of the shame. Now that Sita was no more to be seen, they all regained their supremacy and exulted over their good fortune. The hero of Raghuline, the ocean of the mercy, sees Jatayu's head with his lotus hands, and the birds gazed on ShrRama's countenance. The home of the loveliness, the home of all his pains disappeared. The vulture now recovered himself and spoke as follows: Listen, Rama, the allier of the fear of the transmigration. It was the 10-headed Ravana, my lord, who reduced me to this plight. It was the same wretch who carried off Janka's daughter. He took her away, holy sir, to the south, while she kept screaming loudly as an osprey. I have survived, my lord, only to behold you. My life now is about to depart. O fountain of mercy, said ShrRama, live yet more, dear one. He, however, replied with a smile on his countenance, he whose very name so declare the Vedas redeemed the most depraved souls. Even if it appears on his lips at the moment of his death, it presents before me in a visible form. What more is wanting now, for which I should retain my body any longer? With his eyes full of tears, the Lord of Raghu replied, Dear father, You have attained to an invisible state by virtue of your own noble deed. Nothing is difficult to attainment in this world to those who have other interest at heart. Casting off your body, dear father, proceed now to my divine abode. What shall I give you when you have all your desires already accomplished? But on reaching their side, tell not my fathers about Sita's abduction. If I am no other than Rama, if I am what I am, the 10-headed Ravana and his whole house will go and say everything to him. The vulture now dropped his body and assumed Sri Hari's own form, bedecked with many jewels and clad in yellow attire of matchless splendor, and possessed of a dark hue and 4 long arms. When with his eyes full of tears he burst into the praises of his Lord. Glory to Sri Rama of incomparable beauty, who is absolute as well as qualified and the true impeller of Gunas Maya too. His fierce arrows are potent enough to cut off the terrible arm of the 10-headed Ravana. I incessantly adore to the all-merciful Sri Rama, the ornament of the earth, who is endowed with a form dark as a rain cloud, a face resembling the blue lotus, a large eye resembling the red lotuses. Possessed of long arm, he rid his devotees of the fear of transmigration. His strength is immeasurable. He is without beginning and unborn, the one without a second, unmean-fisted and imperceptible, beyond the reach of the senses, though attainable with the help of the Vedic hymns, the dispeller of the pair of the opposition, such as joy and sorrow, birth and death, pleasure and pain, consciousness personified, the personified, consciousness personified, the supporter of the earth, the delighter of the soul of countless saints and devotees, who repeats the sacred name of the Rama. I will extol Sri Rama, who loves and is loved by those who are free from desire, and curbs the host of the vicious prosperity such as lust and so on. He whose the Vedas glorify under the name of the Brahma, pure, free from the tent of Maya, all pervading, passionless and unborn, whom the sage attend to through manifold practices such as meditation, discretion, dispassion, and yoga, self-disciplines. That fountain of mercies has become manifest as the very incarnation of beauty and enraptured the whole animate and inanimate creations. He whom the Vedas glorify under the name of the Brahma, pure, free from end of Maya, all pervading, passionless and unborn, whose the sages attend through manifold practices such as meditation, discretion, dispassion and yogas, self-discipline and fountain of mercy, has become manifest as in very incarnation of beauty and raptured the whole animate and inanimate creation. He is the bee that resides in the lotus of my heart, and through every limb of his shines the splendor of many, a god of love. He who is at once inaccessible and easily accessible, who has glueless disposition and is both partial and impartial, and ever placid, whom the yogis perceive with great effort, subduing their senses and minds, that Rama, the word of Rama, Goddess Lakshmi, and the Lord of the 3 spheres, the entire creation, is ever at the beck and call of his devotee. May he abide in my heart, whose holy praises put a stop to transmigration. Asking a boon of the uninterrupted devotion, the vulture Jatayu ascends to the Sri Hari's abode. Sri Rama performed his funeral rites with due ceremony, and with his own hands the Lord of Raghu is most tender-hearted and compassionate to the humble, and shows his mercy even where there is no occasion for it. On a vulture who is most unclean and carnivorous birds, he comforted a state which is solicited even by yogis. Listen, Uma, those people are unfortunate indeed who abandon Shri and become attachment to the object of the senses. The 2 brothers proceeded further in quest of Sita and marked the thickening of the forest, even as they went. The thickest was full of creepers and trees and inhabited by many birds and deers, elephants and lions. Sri Rama overthrew the demon Kubandana even as the latter met him on the way. He told him in the whole story about the curse pronounced on him. The sages Durvasa had impacted me. The sin has now been wiped out by the sight of the Lord's feet. Listen, O Gandharva, to what I tell you. I cannot tolerate an enemy of the Brahmans. He who without glue in thoughts, words, and deed, does survive in the Brahmans, the very god of the earth, win over Brahma, Shiva, myself, and all other divinities. A Brahman, even though he curse you, beat you, or speak harsh words to you, is still worthy of adoration. So declare the saints. A Brahmans must be respected, though lacking in amiability and virtue, not so as Shudra, though possessing a host of virtues and rich in knowledge. The Lord instructed Kabandhana in his own cult, the cult of devotion, and was delighted to hear, heart, to see his devotion to his feet. Having regained his original form, that of Gandharva, he bowed his head to the lotus feet of ShrRam, the lords of Raghu, and ascends to the heaven. Having comforted on him his own Gandharva state of beneficent, Ram repaired to the hermitage of Shabri. When Shabri saw that Sri Rama has called at her abode, she recalled the word of saying Matanga and was glad of heart. With lotus eye like long arms and tuft of matted hair adoring their head like a crown and garland of the white flowers hanging upon their breasts, the two brothers looked most charming, the one dark of hue and the other fair. Shabri felt protest and embraced their feet. He was so overwhelmed with love that no word came to her lips. Again and again she bowed her head at the lotus feet. Presently she took some water and reverently leaved their feet, and then conducted them to the seat of the honor. Shri Ramayana, Pause.